And now, Woona Weads Clop, starring the Wisping Woona. Today's story:
Lyra and Bonbon go tasting randomly with others. By Sassy, Wesbury and Catherine, apparently. How fun. She remembered the day they had drunk that delicious cider made by Granny Smith and her family. Lyra also remembered it was the same day Bonbon said the iconic line when she tried the awful cider. "Mine's got rocks in it!" The next day, all through spelt wrong is all thought, Ponyville, everyone had mocked poor Bonbon. That was the day when Lyra stood up for Bonbon. It seemed like the two were always around each other, which doesn't have a space between those two words, and they never really had a conversation before. Turns out the two had quite a few things in common, and quickly became the best of friends. Yay. At the moment, they were walking down the street for some Zap Apple Jam, something that they figured they would like to do since neither of them had tried it before. Waiting in line, they saw many people they knew like... That needs a comma. They saw many people they knew, like Rarity, the Cutie Mark Crusaders, Chewy, and many others. Finally, they approached the stand, eager to try Ponyville's famous Zap Apple Jam. Lyra had medium-length white hair with thick mint green stripes. She was wearing a necklace with her cutie mark, a harp on it, that is not the element of harmony, over a pastel blue shirt. Okay. And thin, darker blue cuffs. She was also wearing a pair of shorts ending halfway down the thigh, for reasons unknown, and they were pale brown with tiny tassels at the bottom. She was also wearing knee socks, because ponies in socks are cute, along with pale brown and darker brown stripes, along with halfway up thigh dark brown sweater boots. She had bright golden eyes. Bonbon was standing beside her, with her hair in long thick curls, colours split down the middle, one half of her hair dark blue, the other pink. Her eyes were a cloudy white blue, ones like the sky and rolling waves crashing around on the shore of a nice beach. She was wearing a form-fitting dress that hugged her curves and ended mid-thigh. It was a spaghetti strap dress, with bows on the straps. The top was nice fancy but not too sexy waist. With a bow on the top, the chest part was tight striped pink and purple. The middle hugged her sides. It was a dark blue, the same shade as the purple. The bottom flared out ever so slightly, hugging her hips but flaring out and ending mid-thigh. Not too short for a dress, her outfit was complete with arm-length gloves. Oh wait, I forgot. Arm-length gloves ending just below the elbow. I forgot to mention this is human ponies, this isn't like ponies. Now it makes sense with all the wearing of the stuff. Always read the blurb of some clop before you start reading it. That's my tip number 1. Second is don't read this. Lyra took another spoonful of Zap Apple Jam. Shoving it into her mouth, she swallowed the spoonful of Zap Apple Jam and stuck out her tongue at Bonbon. Bonbon smiled in response. Lyra's tongue was coloured the colours of the rainbow. Bonbon stuck her tongue out at Lyra, her tongue the same colour as Lyra's. As they laughed, giggled and pointed at each other, which again doesn't have a space, 3 little girls approached the pair, widely known in Ponyville as the Cutie Mark Crusaders. The 3 girls, which is actually spelled tree and not 3, were Scooterwoo, who was Rainbow Dash's little sister, apparently, Apple Bloom, Applejack's little sister, and Sweetie Belle, Rarity's little sister. "Hey guys, could you do us a favour?" Scooterwoo asked, approaching the 2 giggling young women. "Sure guys, what is it?" Bonbon asked, with her slight French accent, one that could be annoying at times if Lyra wasn't so familiar with it. "Well, you all wanted to find Rainbow Dash and bring her here. Well, we all wanted you to find Rainbow Dash and bring her here to help us find our cutie marks," Apple Boom, as it's written here, replied. "Could you find her for us?" "Sure we can. Where is she?" Lyra asked the young girls. "I think she's at Fluttershy's house, and we're going to be too busy to find her since we're going to help Applejack at the farm," Sweetie Belle said, confirming the place that the 2 girls would need to go to. The 2 girls nodded. "We'll find her for you," Bonbon agreed, and Lyra nodded. "Ha, Bonbon, you're such a whore." Bonbon had put the entire spoon of Zap Apple Jam into her mouth, wicking around the flat end of the spoon. Fake moaning in even faker intense pleasure. Baby, give it to me, she said in a fake sexy voice. Wywa stopped in her tracks, looking at Bonbon. You okay, Wywa? Your face is really red, Rainbow said, running her thumb across Wywa's red-hot cheek. I'm fine, you just have a bit of... Her voice trailed off, and suddenly became high-pitched, almost sexy. You just have some Zap Apple jam on your chin. Bonbon blushed furiously as Wywa leaned closer, using her finger to wipe up the jam on her chin, delicately wicking her finger of the jam. It was night time, and Bonbon figured that they should keep going since they were almost at Fluttershy's house. Come on, Wywa, we're almost there, Bonbon encouraged, but Wywa shook her head. We waited all day for Zap Apple Jam, my legs are tired. Can we take a break? Wywa asked. In response, Bonbon, still being silly, pushed Wywa onto her back, continuing to walk to Fluttershy's house to get to Rainbow Dash, which is physically impossible. Meanwhile, I don't think this is right, but I like you, Rainbow Dash, Fluttershy admitted, looking at the ground and shuffling her feet. We're best friends, I guess you would like me, right? Rainbow replied, looking at embarrassed Fluttershy. Fluttershy was wearing a white-pink sundress with little pink ballerina flats. Her hair was whiter pink than her dress, swept off to one side, ending at her elbows. Her outfit was complete, with a yellow headband matching her shoes. Her cutie mark of butterflies was on her chest. Rainbow Dash was wearing a pair of orange goggles over her rainbow hair, which was jellied into a mohawk, like you do. She was wearing a brown pirate's jacket with her cutie mark stitched into the breast pocket. Underneath the jacket was a tee, a bright blue one, with a big cutie mark. Her cutie mark of a thunderbolt and clouds was printed white on her tiny chest. Her outfit was complete, with black jeans and boots. No, I mean more than friends, Fluttershy continued, and Rainbow Dash blushed. Come on, Fluttershy, quit pulling my leg. Why would you ever like me? Rainbow Dash asked Fluttershy. They were sitting across from each other, which again doesn't have a space, on Fluttershy's huge bed. Well, Fluttershy started in her tiny voice, leaning to a bit closer. You're super caring, always considering others, nice, athletic, you stand up for yourself and your friends no matter what. You're brave, not to mention very handsome. Handsome? Rainbow Dash asked, her face a deep shade of red. Would you prefer me to call you pretty? Fluttershy asked. Not really, she shook her head. Fine then, you're gorgeous, Fluttershy corrected. She went a deeper shade of red. Thanks, Fluttershy. You're way prettier than me, though, hands down. You're way nice. No wonder all those animals love you so much. You're shy, which is super cute, and I love it, Rainbow Dash admitted, leaning closer to Fluttershy. Fluttershy got real close to Rainbow Dash's ear, making a bold move and biting down on Rainbow Dash's. I was rereading the word earlobe and Rainbow Dash at the same time. Dash moaned a bit, and Fluttershy sucked, using her tongue to push out her earring. She pulled back after a while, face flushed and breathing heavily. Sorry, Rainbow Dash. I didn't mean to, Fluttershy started. She silenced with a pair of whips pressing against her own, and she moaned a bit, very high-pitched. Dash pushed her tongue through Fluttershy's whips, tracing along the edges of her cheek and the roof of her mouth, wrapped in a tight embrace, with Rainbow Dash lying on top of Fluttershy. That's okay, I was really enjoying it, Dash said, pulling away from the kiss. But let me give all of the pleasure tonight, okay? Rainbow Dash nodded, blushing furiously. Dash rubbed Rainbow Dash's earlobe in 2 fingers, slowly bringing her lips to it and kissing her earlobe like it only gets worse from here on. Then bringing her mouth up a bit more, she breathed into Fluttershy's ear, causing her to moan out loud. Moan in my ear, Rainbow Dash instructed, and Fluttershy did so, as she began to caress her ear and her neck with her tongue. After that, Rainbow Dash reacted in the heat of the moment. I'm just gonna get it over with. Tugging the top of Fluttershy's sundress down ever so slightly, looking into her eyes. Fluttershy nodded, and in the one fluid motion, the sundress had left her body and slipped onto the floor, leaving Fluttershy in only her undergarments. Rainbow Dash stared at the gorgeous body that she was dying to unclothe. Fluttershy was wearing a tiny plain yellow bra with a bow in the middle and matching underwear, and Fluttershy's cutie mark was printed on the white breast of her bra. like you do. Dash pulled Fluttershy's socks off next, then pulled her own shirt off. As Dash went to wean back over Fluttershy, her knee shifted slightly into Fluttershy's crotch area, and she almost screamed in pleasure. Do that again, Fluttershy exclaimed in a worst quaved voice. Dash was happy to do so. She thrust her knee forward, and there was a wild gasp from Fluttershy. More, she edged on, as Dash kneed her harder. More, Fluttershy begged, and Rainbow Dash kneed her faster and even harder. Hope you guys are enjoying this. After a while, Fluttershy screamed more and then drooped. Oh, sweet Celestia, did I make you? Dash stammered. Yes, you did, Fluttershy confirmed. Already? Yeah, I guess that happens fast for me, Fluttershy said. I wonder how many times I can make you, Dash asked. 6, Rainbow Dash shouted, licking up the sweet entrails of her victory, as Fluttershy almost brought to the brink of letting it all out the other— What? That doesn't even make any sense, that sentence. Not gonna read that one, that one's wrong. They were in the iconic 69 position, and Rainbow Dash swept 2 fingers into Fluttershy's overworked nook, pulling them out, covered in Fluttershy's translucent entrails, and wicked them dry. I can't decide whether this is a goth wick or a pawn. Suddenly, the two heard a knock at the door. Unfortunately, Dash was screaming Fluttershy's name, and Lyra and Bonbon thought she was in trouble. Don't worry, we're coming for you, Lyra shouted. The door's unlocked, Bonbon confirmed, and the door swung wide open. The 2 girls on the bed scrambled for the covers, but couldn't get there in time. The other 2 girls stopped in their tracks. What are you doing? Lyra asked the pair, and they scrambled for the covers, covering themselves. Out! Rainbow Dash roared, pointing at the door. Lucky Fluttershy, Bonbon sighed. What? Oh, it's a scene change. Lucky Fluttershy, Bonbon sighed. They were at Lyra's house, discussing what they had seen previously. What? Lyra asked, confused. Well, Rainbow Dash is probably the best fuck around. She's in Fluttershy's bed, no fair, Bonbon whined, and Lyra swapped her arm. Bonbon! Well, it's probably true. What were they even doing? I think they were doing the 69, Lyra answered. Lucky. Oh, will you just shut up, Lyra shouted, teasing. You're saying that Rainbow Dash is the best fuck around? What if I am the best fuck in town? Why are we even having this conversation? Are you? Bonbon asked. Wanna try out? Lyra asked in a musical tone. What do you mean? Bonbon asked. Lyra took both of her hands in Bonbon's. Well, the truth is I really like you, and have for a long time. I've always wanted to do this. So shut up and do as I say, okay? Bonbon blushed. Everything you say? She asked. Everything, Lyra confirmed. Bonbon nodded. Lyra dived for her, topping, and kissed her way all the way up to her cheek, all the way down her neck. Lyra really had no idea how much Bonbon truly wanted her, and how much Bonbon would make her feel good. A while later, and this is where the story really starts, Bonbon was completely naked, and Lyra had taken off her shirt but still had her pink bra on the top of its waist. At least they've given plenty of time to the description of clothing. Bonbon moaned as Lyra sucked the top of one of her breasts, kneading the other one with 2 fingers. Lyra pinched, and Bonbon threw her head back, panting and moaning. She pulled her mouth away. Lyra traced a finger down Bonbon's chest, stomach, resting on her hip bone and tracing circles on it. Bonbon moaned slightly. Lyra then approached her final destination, not the film, needing a particularly sensitive spot in 2 fingers. Ah, Bonbon moaned wildly, and Lyra continued. From there, she moved her finger, which is spelt finer, down a bit further, finding Bonbon's entrance quite easily. Lyra traced her finger around her entrance, and when the pleasure became unbearable, just bear with it, Bonbon thrust her hips forward, sending Lyra's index finger deep inside her. Hooray. Bonbon's sweet, pleasure-ridden scream was music to Lyra's ears, as Bonbon began to thrust her hips into Lyra's finger, quickly getting used to the pleasure that it gave her. When Bonbon was wet enough, Lyra pushed another finger deep inside her, which made Bonbon cry out even louder than before. Suddenly, Bonbon's inner walls became tighter as Lyra thrust her fingers in again and again, adding another finger in, and Bonbon reached her climax as Lyra swiftly pulled her finger out of Bonbon and slowly whipped them clean before her very eyes. I love what I'm doing. Bonbon's eyes bulged as Lyra's tongue snaked out from her mouth, her saliva swathering over the tips of her fingers, then gorging on the west of Why did she call it entrails? It doesn't make sense. Then gorging on the west of Bonbon's entrails. I don't think she knows what the word entrails really means. Waiwa moaned deeply and quietly as she did, and Bonbon squirmed, not being able to work away from her because her tongue was so hot snaking over her fingers like that. You're fucking delicious, Waiwa moaned, wicking her fingers wildly one last time. Bonbon sat up roughly, pulling Waiwa close to her as Waiwa wang her soaked fingers across Bonbon's busty chest, and Bonbon shivered in pleasure. Waiwa, I fucking love your tongue, Bonbon moaned passionately, red in the face as she admitted it. I bet you'll love it even more once you see what I can really do, Waiwa moaned back, pushing Bonbon's upper body back on the bed roughly. Waiwa twirled her tongue down the length of Bonbon's body, and Bonbon squirmed in lust and anticipation for Waiwa's next moves, wanting the pleasure. Even thinking about it was making both Waiwa and Bonbon soaking. Bonbon squealed and moaned as Waiwa wicked her... Fuck, I can't say this word in this voice. Bonbon squealed and moaned as Waiwa wicked her clitoris, pulling apart her flaps so that she could taste Bonbon even more. Waiwa moaned, working Bonbon's clit with her tongue and making Bonbon's upper body lurch forwards again. Waiwa pushed Bonbon back on the bed and continued, wicking her roughly with her tongue, loving the way that she tastes. Waiwa's tongue snaked down closer to Bonbon's entrance, and Bonbon moaned hotly in response. Waiwa smirked as she used her thumbs to push Bonbon's flaps further apart, and got a closer look at her best friend's wet-dripping vagina. Fuck, your pussy's so wet, Waiwa said. Breathing hot air onto Waiwa's ultra-sensitive vagina, she moaned in pleasure, grasping the covers she was wearing on top of. Waiwa plunged... How much more of there is? Oh, not that much left. Waiwa plunged her tongue deep into Bonbon. She then pulled the covers up around her, screaming in extreme lust, want, and pleasure. Waiwa was the best thing that could ever happen in Bonbon's life. She was also the best pleasure giver ever, whether it was a friendly matter or not. Right now, Bonbon was on cloud 9, loving the way that Waiwa could manipulate her body into what the mint green head girl wanted, and what she could do with her tongue. Waiwa pushed her tongue even further into Bonbon, making her almost scream in ecstasy. Ah, Waiwa, I'm going to, Bonbon moaned, gripping the sheets as tightly as she could, and staring into her best friend's eyes. Waiwa just smirked as Bonbon moaned even wilder than before, bending over and raking her nails along Waiwa's back. But Waiwa didn't stop there. She put her index finger into her mouth, coating it in her saliva, then taking it out of her mouth all wet. She then took her coated index finger and rubbed Bonbon's clitoris with it, as well as having her tongue inside of her. That was too much for Bonbon. The upper part of Bonbon's body lifted up as she threw her head back, screaming Waiwa's name loud and clear, and Waiwa's fingers were whipped out from inside her by the sudden action. Bonbon swamped on top of Waiwa, and Waiwa hugged her best friend tightly, rocking her side to side a bit. Bonbon recovered quickly, sitting up and smiling mischievously at Waiwa. What is it? She asked her best friend. Waiwa, and Bonbon's grin got wider. Can I ask you for a favour? Bonbon said with a smirk, and Waiwa blushed. Anything, she replied, as Bonbon fell over on her side, and then rolled into a sitting position. I want to try what we saw Fluttershy and Rainbow Dash were doing, Bonbon confessed, blushing. To answer her question, Waiwa rolled on top of Bonbon, kissing her in agreement. I love you, Bonbon, Waiwa murmured into Bonbon's ear. I love you too, Bonbon replied. Ah. The next day, Bonbon and Waiwa had attempted to avoid Fluttershy and Rainbow Dash as much as possible. It would have been awkward if they saw the couple, considering Waiwa and Bonbon actually did what exactly Fluttershy and Rainbow Dash... Anyways, that sentence doesn't make sense. Thank goodness the two of them were out of sight today, because Waiwa and Bonbon had to return the Zap Apple Jam Jar to Granny Smith, and definitely didn't want to bump into either of them on the way. Nearly done. Waiwa and Bonbon were walking back at the dusty old road in the direction of Granny Smith's farm, when suddenly a scooter whizzed past the two girls, and they jumped back into surprise. The scooter circled back, and the young Scooter Woo hopped off it. A smile plastered her face. So, did you guys see Rainbow Dash? Scooter Woo asked excitedly. Both Bonbon and Waiwa shook their heads, blushing. No, Scooter Woo, we couldn't find her, Waiwa said, and Bonbon continued. We rang the doorbell, but no one answered. Oh, that's okay, then I'll go find her myself, Scooter Woo said proudly, hopping back onto her scooter and zooming off. We'd better go, Waiwa said, grabbing Bonbon's hand and walking the opposite direction that Scooter Woo had gone. Well, I'm so glad that's over. Why do I do this for a living? I don't know. So, yes, that was Waiwa and Bonbon go tasting random with others, which is another sentence that doesn't make sense. If you really want to read it yourself, we'll link you to it in the description of the video. Thanks for listening, guys, and I'll see you next time when Woona Weads Wandom Clop.